Welcome back. You're watching Commodity Champions, and joining us now is Ankit Chona, who's Managing Director at Hocco. Ankit, hi, good to have you. And it has been such a great market, early onset of summers. Almost all ice cream makers really seem to be rejoicing this. We are looking at better numbers coming across, and that too as early as in the month of March itself. How have you seen the market? What is it that you are picking up in sense of numbers and market trends?
Sure. Thanks, Manisha, for having me on the show. Yeah, you're right. Usually it's Holi when the ice cream season really picks up, and so but this year, from the first week of March itself, we've seen the temperatures increasing, and we've seen better offtake of ice creams. February, on the other hand, was not a great month. There was a lot of unseasonal rains, and so those kind of challenges were there. But March has definitely seen a great uptick, and Holi is actually every year. Holi is when you see the sales of ice cream really pick up, and that's the starting of the season for us. So Holi is just over yesterday, so we are hoping that there'll be a further uptick in sales starting today.
Ankit, I also want to talk to you about how the market really have changed in last many years. I mean, earlier it used to be go out for a drive and get an ice cream or do it on special occasions. But now it's a dessert kind of a trend. You also can order various desserts and ice creams on online platforms as well. How has that changed for you?
So I think India has always been a value-seeking consumer, but they're really moving up the value chain. I mean, we are seeing that change in all our SKUs as well. It's not only about the vanillas and the butterscotch and all that. People are like, we have flavors like charcoal lychee. That's one of our top 10 selling flavors. We've done products which are in the health category. So, and like you rightly said, quick commerce has been a game changer. We have these cake sandwich ice creams and all of that. What is happening with ice cream really never took off on modern trade, because when you bought the product from the market, the probability of it melting was very high unless you got home in the next 10-15 minutes. With Blinkit and Instamart and these and Zepto and all, ice cream sales there, I believe, is going to grow at 10x the speed at which it's going to grow in traditional general trade and retail models. So I think that has been a big game changer in the last 2 years for the ice cream industry.
And Ankit, do you also get, there have been a lot of demands, basically, a lot of asks when it comes to gluten-free and sugar-free and natural sugar ice creams, etc. I mean, are you looking at all of that too?
We have an entire range of healthier ice creams. It's called health. But in ice cream still in India largely remains an indulgent category. I would not call it, give an example. I would say while maybe 5 years ago, the healthy ice cream would probably contribute to 1% of sales. Right now, it contributes to about 2% of sales overall. Where the trend for vegan ice cream, sugar-free and gluten-free ice creams in general are gluten-free because by nature they are gluten-free. So that's not a really where vegan ice cream not coming. It's still a very niche market. It's a very it's more of an urban phenomenon. But if you go to the mass land India, where the real consumption of ice cream is happening, it's still a very indulgent product, and they want the ice cream to be creamy and taste as good as it should.
Ankit, as Mr. Jain Mehta was telling us that last year was all right, but this year is when they're anticipating double the kind of growth that they saw in the previous year. Is that what the overall industry is looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, so one of the reasons that I also see that why the growth should be where it is, because the input prices have been, very, very stable. In fact, skim milk powder, cream, and butter. These are the three essential ingredients that are going to make an ice cream, probably 75% of the input cost. They have actually been, they're lower than what they were last year. And that, very rarely happens. So there is no pricing pressure on the industry this year. And the summer, is going to be a long summer. And this year, even, the learnings from last year, quick commerce is also really geared up. And that's going to be a completely new, line of, sales that will come in this year. So I think it's going to be a bumper year for all ice cream companies this summer. And I don't think, that anything will stop the ice cream sales from at least looking at 30-40% growth this year for most players. We're still new in this category, so we don't have we don't have a last year because we launched in October of last year only.
Oh, well, absolutely. So, I also want to understand this market, Ankit, because there are domestic players and then you have regional parlors as well, and then you have international markets as well available here. So it really is a fragmented and a big market in that sense.
Yeah. So you're right. Mainly, so interestingly, I think we would be one of the only ice cream brands that is launched with the entire portfolio of 150 SKUs, I think in the last 20 years. Most of the new players that have come into the market have come into niches where they go with high protein, vegan, those sort of ice creams, which, as I said, those are very, very niche categories. So, it has been definitely, uh, something that we are seeing that this market is only going to get bigger because of the infrastructure that is available right now. The cold chain that the government has invested behind. So and power is now available everywhere across the country. So I'm just saying that everything looks very, very positive for the industry going forward. And yeah, so it's I think this year checks all the boxes for this for the ice cream industry. And as I said, and that like regional players are now all trying to go national, and the national players like Amol is going international. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think there's enough room for everybody to try and get to see how they grow. And I think one thing that is the most critical thing in the ice cream industry is supply chain. It's almost, I think it's equally in a supply chain led business as it is a dairy or an ice cream business, because you have to make sure that the product reaches on time at the right temperature. Any glitch in the supply chain and the product it'll get damaged. So I think that is critical, and as I said, like with the kind of infrastructure that has been built, we're seeing great response. We're seeing a great growth in the ice cream market.
Oh, well, yes. Ankit, cones or scoops or tubs, or what really does better? Is there a research, is there a survey onto that?
Cones has been the fastest growing category in India. And as I said, people are moving up the value chain. So, anything, the shape or the shape or the form changing, I think people are really willing to experiment. So, we've come up with these ball top cones, and they're one of the most fastest moving products that we have in the market right now. So it's people have finally embraced ice cream as not just, like you say, going for a drive and having it, but we're actually fighting now for freezer space at home. Otherwise it was always an impulse product. You go out and just on a drive, but now people are storing ice creams at home and enjoying them. So so that is a trend that is that's changed in the last few years.
And is there competition also from frozen yogurts and frozen desserts versus ice creams? I mean, that's a debate that's been on for some time.
Yeah. So the frozen yogurt market in India is non-existent. I mean, I don't think there is any player of any significance in the frozen yogurt market in India. Frozen dessert is just a variant of ice creams, right? I mean, so for example, we make ice creams. So all our ice creams are made from milk, cream, and butter and sugar. If you are a frozen dessert, you just substitute the cream and butter for for oil. Usually it's a palm kernel oil. There are masking agents and all that that are used to make these ice creams, these frozen desserts, but they taste very similar to ice cream, and they're significantly cheaper. So we've always believed in making fresh and pure ice cream, so made with milk. So I think there's just a little difference between the two.
Okay, and what flavor does really do better? Because we do understand that the input cost for many of these has gone up. I mean, if I look at the vanilla prices or cocoa prices, which is trading at an all-time high as well.
Yeah.
So what flavor does better? How is it priced well? And how have you seen the market? The price sensitivity is something that you talked about as well. But if we are moving above the value chain, how is that looking like?
So very interestingly, in India, I mean, it's more of a you will not realize, you will not imagine, but the highest selling flavor of India is butterscotch.
Okay.
And nowhere else in the world will you will see butterscotch. There'll be a caramel flavor, but so after vanilla in India, the highest selling flavor is butterscotch, followed by chocolate. Usually world over, strawberry is the highest selling flavor, the third highest selling flavor, but in India that doesn't even feature in the top 10. So I would say obviously the traditional vanilla, chocolate, and butterscotch are the three highest selling flavors. But we've, as I said, people are experimenting with flavors. So we've got like a blueberry cheesecake that's doing really well. Charcoal lychee is doing really well. Fresh fruit flavors, are doing well. And now summer is here, so mango will always, be one of the top selling flavors in April, May, June. So I think even sorbets are getting some traction. They're not very popular, but
Okay.
yeah. So these are the kind of flavors that are, that are doing well. And India, and I cannot forget. I have to mention that India is a dry fruit, nuts loving, country. So anything with almonds, pistachios, cashews will always be a fast moving product.
All right. So from Kesar pistas to butterscotch to vanilla and chocolate top are the top 5 that perhaps India is consuming right now. There are so many more. Ankit, thank you as always for joining us and educating us on that whole ice cream tutorial that you just took us here. Thank you so much for joining.